What's up guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to part 1 of my GMADE BOM build series. Today we're going to be going over, I believe, the axles. Alright. Yep, so we'll be starting with the axles. Alright, the parts for the axles will mostly come from bag A. Alright, so this is what we see in bag A. This is the plastic sprue parts for the rear axle, the sprue parts for the front axle, sprue parts for the C-hubs and knuckles, as well as the rear lockouts. Got the diff covers here, as well as the wheel hexes and the diff lockers, bearings, steering links, diff gears right here, the CVD shafts and axles, rear axles, and plastic ball ends with tie rod ends. Oh, it's also got the CVD pin locker. If you got the first batch of bombs, metal ball ends were also included. Now another nice thing about this kit is that the screw bag is all nicely labeled. You can see here. Look at this organization. When's the last time you saw a kit that labeled all the hardware specifically for you? Pretty cool. Look at all these parts right there. Alright, so these are the parts you need for step 1. Pay attention to this little notch here. The notch side should be with the gears. Clear side should be with the housing. You want to make sure you don't want to over tighten or torque this. I've heard that this plastic could strip easily if you put too much torque on it. So you want to take it easy when you're putting these screws in. That completes step 1. In the next step, we're going to start on the front axle housing. So the front housing is going to be the shorter one, the rear axle is the longer one. Alright, step 2 requires the GMADE GS02 E-ring that you see here. And you can cross-reference the type right here, which is a 2mm E-ring. It's this one right here. So we need one of those. It's a little tight fit, so I'll be right back after I get the e-ring on. But you'll see the e-ring is supposed to go right there. Alright, I finally got the E-clip on. You can see there's definitely no play at all. It's a tight fit. And that pretty much concludes step 2. Step 3, we'll go ahead and add this assembly to the front axle housing. And for this we'll need the 2.5 by 8 wrench bolts. So this is what you'll need for step 3. I'll go ahead. And that concludes step 3. For this next step, on step 4, you'll need the assembly you just finished in step 3. The diff gear setup from step 1. You'll need the 2.5 by 6 round head bolts, and you'll need the 2 by 6 wrench bolts again. You'll need the diff cover, and you'll need these I guess bearing brackets. I forgot what we're supposed to call them, but you get the idea. As usual, I like to grease the gears with Versachem brake caliper grease. Give it a few turns to kind of spread that grease around. Alright, now it's time to put the brackets on. Now do not over tight them, and make sure that there's a little ridge here. This one's facing the diff gear. Alright, just remembering to make sure not to over tighten these. Everything should move smoothly. Alright, after getting the bearing brackets in, making sure not to over tighten them, or else you'll have a diff gear that doesn't turn very freely. And also make sure you grease the gears really well. It's time to put on the diff housing or diff cover. Alright, that concludes step 4. Alright, step 5, putting the C-hubs onto the front axle, and these are the parts that you'll need. You'll notice that there's like a ridge there, and that's for this screw hole up here. So there's one on the bottom too. So if you look at the axle from here, those screws are supposed to go across like that. So make sure you line it up correctly. Again, you don't want to over tighten these. When you screw these in, just make sure they're flush with the end of the screw hole. Make sure they don't go in too deep. You'll see in the directions right there. Make sure it's just flush right there. Alright, that concludes step 5. Step 6 is putting together the CVDs for the front axle. And that completes steps 6 and 7. Alright, continuing to step 8, we're going to need the 3x10 round head wrench bolts. We're going to need the bearings for the knuckles right here, and also these washers. Again, you don't want to over tighten. You want to have freedom of movement. So just make sure that these particular screws aren't over tightened. So they should be able to move freely. I think this one go just a little more. Alright, the knuckles are on the axle, and that completes step 8. Alright, step 9, we're going to put the front link mounts on. These are the parts needed for step 9. Alright, and that completes step 9, and that completes the front axle. Alright, step 10, we're going to start working on the rear axle. Alright, we're ready to put the diff gear in, and once again I'm going to be using Versachem brake caliper grease. And that completes step 10. Alright, these are the parts you need for the next step. Once again, with these bearing brackets, you do not want to over tighten them. If you over tighten them, the diff gear won't spin freely. Make sure you have this facing the right way. So this side towards the shaft. That completes step 11. Alright, these are the parts you'll need for step 12. That completes step 12. These are the parts that are needed for step 13. Make sure that these lockouts have the screw holes facing towards the diff cover and that they line up with these notches right here. Once again, do not over tighten. Make sure that the screw is flush with the screw hole. That completes step 13 of this first part of my GMADE BOM build series. So this is part 1, and the front and rear axles are complete. Thanks for watching.